The Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Now, after the wise men had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night, and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, he was infuriated, and he sent and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled because they are no more. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel, for those who were seeking the child's life are dead." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was ruling over Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And after being warned in a dream, he went away to the district of Galilee. There he made his home in a town called Nazareth, so that what had been spoken through the prophets might be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene. The Gospel of the Lord. I really hate this text. I hate this story. You see, in our church, in our tradition, we're on what's called a lectionary. And the lectionary is a 3-year cycle that people kind of decided what texts get read every Sunday. And the reason they do that is to keep pastors and preachers from getting up and preaching whatever they wanted and saying whatever they wanted. Instead, they have to follow a theme, an idea. And I hate this text. I really do. You know, there's like cat people and dog people in the world. I'm a baby person. When I see a baby, when I see a child, my heart grows 3 sizes. I'm the one that wants to go over and see and look and celebrate that child. And so whenever there's a story about harm to children, it hurts. It really hurts. It makes me think about the kind of power and privilege I have for being here, for just the fact that I was just born in this country. What a gift. I love being in this country. It's an incredible place to be. I've been all over the world. I've traveled many, many places, and what a gift it is to come home here and realize how much we have, how much we get to have, and how easy it is to just ignore the hard things in the world. How easy it is to just change the channel when we're faced with something hard. How easy it is just to scroll past. How I can just distract myself from the hard things of the world. That's power. That's privilege. We even considered maybe not using this text. I hate it enough. I'm like, let's preach on something else. Let's talk about something else. But again, that was me using my power and privilege of pastor to ignore hard things. I wanted to not look at them. I wanted to ignore them. I didn't want to talk about this. And I realized by doing that, I'm ignoring what God is trying to remind us. When I think about all that power and privilege, it makes me wonder about Herod. What kind of human does this to children? What kind of person allows that kind of hurt to happen to another? It reminds me that we still live and operate in systems where things are dark. And despite all the joy of Christmas Eve and all of the fun and the celebration and the gathering around trees and lights and joy and love and hope, that when Christ was born, Christ wasn't born in palaces. Christ wasn't born when everything was fine. Christ was born into a real world where real hard things were happening. As we say at Christmas, when we light our candles at Christmas, we remind ourselves that a light shines, but that it shines in the darkness. The darkness did not overcome it. That Christ's coming was to shine in dark places. I think about this story about Jesus and what we heard today. It's a part of a greater narrative about the wise men who come from afar. And I'm not going to go too deep into that because I don't want to step on the preacher's toes, because that's our text next week. By the way, I'm the preacher and I don't want to step on my own toes. But it says that when the wise men come, they come to the house and they visit the child, not the babe. So one of the mistakes that we often think is that the wise men came to the manger as well. It actually came much later, and the child would have been 1 or 2 years old. That Joseph and Mary actually probably moved to Bethlehem during that census. That it's not like today's census where it happens really quick. It happened over a long period of time, and they moved into a home and stayed there. And while they were there, the wise men came and left. Now they had visited Herod on the way in, and they avoided Herod on the way out, and that made Herod angry, because he had heard that the king was born, and that threatened Herod's power. And so Herod commanded that all the children should die, the male heirs. And so this 2-year-old child had to be picked up in the middle of the night and grab whatever they can, and became a refugee, had to flee the violence of their hometown, leaving their family behind, their people behind, the places that they knew, their work, their home, their profession, probably most of their goods and belongings, piled it onto whatever they could carry and ran. And they went to Egypt. And we don't know much about what was in Egypt to care for him. We don't know if they had family there or friends there, or if they just simply had to go and depend on the kindness of strangers to survive. Whether they lived there with people they knew or not, we don't know. But what we do know is that this was a great trauma in the life of Jesus. That Jesus experienced as a kid what it was like to leave everything behind. To know that kids' friends might have died back in Bethlehem. That parents experienced this horror in their home, and the only way out was to run. And so Jesus became refugee, and Jesus bore the story of this trauma throughout his life. It was a part of his story then. And that opens to me a whole new way of seeing through Jesus' eyes and how Jesus lived and worked. Because what this means then, since Jesus understood this story, understood this trauma, understood this horror, that when he saw other people experiencing the same kind of horror and trauma, it wasn't because he didn't have compassion for them simply because he dwelled out of a place of compassion, but because he knew what that felt like. He knew what that was like. He knew what it meant to run away in the middle of the night. He knew what it meant to be chased. He knew what it meant to be told that you were less, to know what your life was like under threat. He knew what that felt like in his own bones. It was his story. That when he saw women and men being told to flee or to run away or that you're less than, he saw something different. He saw himself. He saw his own story in their life. And what's remarkable is that Jesus was able to use this trauma, use these stories, use this hurt, but transform it into something different. As Pastor Doug preached on Christmas Eve, the Christ came to show us how to be human, to teach us what it looks like to be human in the world, Didn't come as an eagle because eagles learned to fly. Didn't come as dolphins because dolphins knew how to swim. But we have to learn how to be human because we are as quickly taught hate as much as we can be taught to love. And what Jesus did with his trauma, what Jesus did with his hurt, what Jesus did with his wounding, was that he didn't use this to hurt and wound others. In fact, he converted it into compassion for people who lived in the same space. He converted it into a way of seeing the whole world, that he shared a oneness with them, that he saw the love in every single person, and he could see in each and every one of them their humanity because he had experienced the same hurt they had. Jesus was not immune to the pain of the world. Jesus dwelt deeply within it and used that and turned that into something that he carried with his whole life. And rather than hurting, he carried it all the way to the cross so that that kind of level of trauma, where a hurt person hurts people, where a wounded person wounds people, would die with him. That he would set down those things and let that way of life die so that we could rise to be a new kind of humanity, so that we could be a new kind of human in the world who doesn't use our power and privilege to harm others, but uses it to heal, uses it to inform, uses it to offer compassion to the others, that we don't let our pain become somebody else's pain. Are y'all following? Does this make sense to you? You see, that light then wasn't something that was just given to Jesus. In the same way that we lit everyone's candle here on Christmas Eve from the Christ candle, so that light is given to each and every one of us. Given to us. So that when we find ourselves in dark places, when we find ourselves with people who are hurting, when we find ourselves with people who are experiencing great pain and they want to give that pain away and they want to hurt, we can learn to teach that there's another way of doing humanity. That we don't have to hurt in return for hurt. That we can be a light that shines in their darkness and not let the darkness overcome it. Our work is to be Jesus in the world around us, that Christ came to be Emmanuel, and that Emmanuel dwells in us to be Emmanuel for others, to be a God who lights a candle in the lives of others, so that we do not perpetuate hate and hurt, but we become a place and a movement of love and compassion that teaches one another how to truly be human in our world today. So may you not turn away from the dark. Don't turn away from the hard things. Don't change the channel, don't scroll past, and don't distract. But instead, face the hard things, especially those that are directly in your life. And may you, in those places, light a candle. Light a candle in their darkness. May the darkness not overcome it. If you'll pray with me. Lord God, you have called your servants to ventures of which we cannot see the ending, on paths as yet untrodden, through perils unknown. Give us faith to go out in good courage, not knowing where we go, but only that your hand is leading us and your love supporting us. In the name of love, whose name is Jesus. Amen.